So after 3 months of attempts, I finally beat Breath of the Wild in under 30 minutes. And in this video, I'm going to explain how I have done this, how I have achieved that goal, what changed between my last relatively popular video and how to beat Breath of the Wild in under 35 minutes. Because ever since, the speedrun has obviously developed quite a bit. There's new strategies, new route adaptations, and I'm going to talk all about them in this video. But I will still basically explain everything that's relevant to a Breath of the Wild speedrun, which I already explained in a previous video. But for everybody that sees a Breath of the Wild speedrun for the first time or has never gotten a proper explanation as to how the speedrun works, this video is for you. But before we get into the run here, I do quickly want to address that only 13% of my viewers actually subscribe to my channel. So if you want to just check real quick, that would really mean a lot if you want to subscribe for Breath of the Wild content. But let's talk about any percent speedruns. Any percent speedruns are basically ran on the newest version of the game, 1.6 on Switch. Emulators are banned. And as you can see on my speedrunning timer here, the timing begins actually when you gain control of Link in the beginning of the run. It doesn't start when you press new game. This is to basically account for some differences that some people encounter with the digital or physical version or when they run on Wii U as to how long that opening cutscene takes. Additionally, one question that comes up a lot, this category specifically in Breath of the Wild is played in French. French saves time over other languages, it is the fastest, only a tiny bit over German, quite a decent amount over English or other languages, so basically runners set their switch to French to get the fastest time possible. In the Breath of the Wild run, you still, at this point, have to complete the Great Plateau. One recent video on my channel goes over a way to actually skip the Great Plateau by going through this very tedious setup and basically create a New Game Plus file, but that is currently not allowed in the Breath of the Wild speedrun. And you already saw me clip through the wall at the Shrine of Resurrection. This is a scope clip still being used. You basically open your scope and the camera pushes Link out of bounds and you can leave the Shrine of Resurrection that way, which has two major advantages. First of all, you don't have to watch that first big opening cutscene, which takes around 1 minute. But second of all, you also stop time and weather conditions. Time and weather in this run is never going to change. It's always going to be 5:15 a.m. in the morning. I walk up here to these 6 chilies, which are basically going to act as some backup food. It's a little bit safer to pick up that food because we are going to be taking damage intentionally quite a bit in this run. One big question that comes up as well is if you compare this run to the any percent world record. The current world record skips getting that potlet at that Bokoblin camp there and goes straight to the next Bokoblin camp we are about to head to and picks up a shield there, the Boko shield. The Boko shield has a lot less durability, so it's much riskier to run with it. And additionally, it's actually quite RNG heavy if you end up saving time with that route. So when people ask me, the community pretty much agrees that it's only worth to go for that strat when you go for world record. And I personally was hunting the goal of beating the game in under 30 minutes, which is still quite hard. Definitely basically requires you to do most things correctly. There's going to be a mistake here and there though. Running up to these Bokoblins, it's definitely important that you have stamina when you come up here. You run up to this crate, get the 5 arrows, hit this Bokoblin in the face twice, jump to cancel the X-swing, and pick up the Bokoblin bow. You can keep your speed here by shield surfing on the snow patch, which I'm going to do. And as long as you check the health bar in the top left here and you still have a full heart reaching the top of the hill, you are good to go. You don't have to eat. You can just run straight to the Stasis Shrine, which will be closed. And if you've never seen a Breath of the Wild speedrun, you may have already noticed that I never actually opened or activated the Great Plateau Tower. I ran to the shrine straight away. And that's obviously a lot faster. You don't have to get to the tower. You don't have to watch these cutscenes. But that means that the shrines are not open. You can't activate them by clicking A, so you have to clip through the wall like I did just then by doing something called a skew clip. You basically jump onto the side of the shrine with a shield jump, which gets you something called skew, which is a state where Link can basically unequip his shield mid-air and he will then tilt back, basically kind of in like a 90-degree angle. And when he comes back from the tilted position, the game can push him through walls. We're going to see this I think 3 more times because I'm going to have to clip into Cryonis, magnesis, and bombs. Magnesis, you can actually get to that shrine so fast that the door of the shrine doesn't load in, so you can just walk in. But in this run, I didn't get that small time save and had to use another clip. So we got Stasis here. These cutscenes take like 32 seconds and unfortunately are unskippable. You have to get the rune in each of these shrines. You can't just go to the monk and then run the game without the rune. If you go to the monk in these shrines without the rune, the monk will tell you that you have to get the rune, you can't finish the shrine. And the other way around as well, you can't just get the rune and then leave the shrine hoping that you get the paraglider after all 4. That is not how it works either. Basically, as far as plateau works, the game checks if you have 4 spirit orbs for the old man to show up at the top of the Temple of Time, aka to get the paraglider. And the spirit orbs are only obtainable if you actually get the rune. So Stasis is pretty straightforward though. We just run through the shrine, do this little shield jump at the end, kind of like a double jump, and then move on. And I'm still very fascinated by this because for some reason the game manages to not crash here when the old man shows up anyway, even though you're supposed to get to know him after activating the Great Plateau Tower. Somehow the game is okay with this. Another small thing that I'm going to point out here is I waited a bit after talking to the monk there at the end to skip the cutscene, which is slightly faster. For some reason the game loads quicker if you wait a tiny bit before skipping that cutscene. And another small time save mechanic here is you basically just want to select the right text choices to get less text and then make it into gameplay quicker again. Coming up on the Cryonis split, the game gets quite a bit more intense. We are going to be using the Stasis rune we just got from the first shrine and the bow and arrows that we picked up on the way. Charging up this boulder with 4 hits, in my previous video I did 3, allows you to ride a little bit closer to the Bokoden camp. I actually messed up the angle there slightly and the boulder landed on the ledge and I had to shield surf quite a bit longer anyway, but that's fine. The big trick here is still the bullet time bounce. We want to go from here, the Stasis shrine, to the Cryonis shrine, do our quick setup, go into bullet time, gonna bounce on the Bokoden's back, and make our way to the shrine. This shrine here cannot be unloaded, the door will always be there, but we're going to be using a little bit of a different clip. But first of all, after the bullet time bounce, we're going to be landing with a fall damage canceller, which wasn't even needed here because I landed in the cold water. Got out of there as quick as possible. And now I'm going to get my skew on the lip of that shrine and do something called an extended shield clip. By buffering to the right frame, and you're going to see it here where Link's body is like halfway in the door, you can do another shield jump input mid-air and can basically do something almost like a double clip, which allows you to clip through that front door. Otherwise, with a normal shield clip, you wouldn't be able to do that because the door is too thick. The side walls are thinner. But with the extended shield jump, you as a shield clip, you can clip right through the door, which my previous run didn't do. And that's obviously faster than having to clip twice. Tiny optimization, only really saves time when you get it quick, but definitely a different option to clip into the shrine. In Cryonis, we still have one little skip that was also already prevalent in the first video in how to beat any percent in under 35 minutes. It's called the cryo skip. There's actually a new version of the skip where you jump the gate on the left side, which is only really done by very few runners because it requires some very, very weird inputs. But definitely an option. You can jump over that gate by doing kind of like a mid-air jump and then still do another one of those cryo block jumps. Saves around 2 seconds if you get it first try. But can definitely be tricky. So when you run any percent, you always want to look on this level at least, that sub 30 minute level. You want to try and beat the Cryonis shrine in under 8 minutes, which I did do here, 7:55. So I knew this run was relatively good. And the magnesis split, if you look at my timer, was one of my biggest time saves. Almost 1 full minute to save. Ideally, in the split, you would do a bullet time bounce and then make your way all the way to the magnesis shrine. I didn't get that here, but what I did here is something that you'll only see after the BTB. You could basically see me run up that snow slope, swing my axe and jump, which seems kind of random, but I actually set up a glitch there called Slate storage, which is a newer technique. So first of all, I do another bullet time bounce. Didn't get the angle all the way to the shrine. But the way I'm going to be landing here is going to be slightly different. Instead of the normal fall damage cancel, I will press D-pad up, which is usually the rune menu. When you get Slate storage, opening any menu will basically cause Link to pull out the Sheikah Slate. And what happens here is, when Link opens the map for the first time, there's a little cutscene that plays that shows Link pulling out the Sheikah Slate. You store that cutscene by doing those inputs and basically activate it mid-air, which is going to make him immune from taking damage. So I go and destroy these crates here, which is actually optional, but these crates can contain arrows, and arrows are extremely important to beat Calamity Ganon with. I did get 2 food items here, which is unoptimal. It actually ended up losing me some time. But getting those arrows is going to be crucial, because the fastest version of any percent uses amiibo instead of going to the crates below Hyrule Castle that the no amiibo run does, which gives you some extra arrows. So arrows are even more tight in the amiibo run, which I did end up using here. I'll talk about that later when amiibos are being scanned. But for now, we are entering magnesis. Once again, did one of those skew clips, another clip into the elevator, and now I'm going to be getting the magnesis rune. So this gives me some time to briefly touch on the amiibo debate. My sub 35 minute commentated run on YouTube didn't use any amiibos, didn't use the amiibo rune, while this run does. Amiibo is straight up faster in any percent, and the reason why is to get a tech up food ingredients. So basically food that we can use to cook an attack up potion, which this run is going to be used to beat Calamity Ganon and the Blights. But the main reason that I recommend amiibo, and you'll see the world record of this game is always going to use amiibo, is because it removes RNG from the run, random elements. In no amiibo, when you get to Hyrule Castle, you're basically reliant on getting a attack up banana, which only has a 56% chance of spawning. And if you don't get the banana, basically your run could be dead. You could have lost your run, your hard work, the 20 minutes it took you to get there. Once you get to a level where you have to beat the game in under 30 minutes, that feels extremely crushing. And this is why basically every top runner chooses to run with amiibo. Magnesis out of the way, which is a very straightforward shrine. It just uses one of those shield jump, double jumps at the end there. We have to go to bombs, which is a pretty intense split. In bombs, there is now a new strategy called a stasis bounce, which I did make a video about, that even the world record isn't using at this time, because it seems to be very inconsistent. Not the stasis bounce itself, but getting this stasis bounce using that metal crate on the right all the way to the shrine. It's basically kind of like a BTB. It's extremely inconsistent. I get it every once in a while, but it's really not worth it for any percent runs, because we don't have a good setup yet. Maybe in the future. For now, we are going to be riding this metal slab all the way to this tower here where the bokoblins are, and we're going to be using them to bullet time bounce to the bomb shrine. I got a really fast angle here to get to the bomb shrine. In fact, this angle was so fast and low that I didn't even have to use the fall damage cancel mechanic, and I could just run to the bomb shrine. I was actually still quite far away from the bomb shrine, but that's still pretty good. So this is actually something that most of you guys have probably already seen that's about to come up here in the bomb shrine. My first any percent run through didn't use this technique yet because it wasn't discovered at the time. But what we are able to do after getting the bombs rune is a trick called Wind Bomb. Wind Bomb is huge and changed Breath of the Wild speedrunning completely and the way we move throughout the game. And it's super helpful in any percent runs too. Much less than in long speedruns, but even in any percent, which is a short speedrun under 30 minutes, they have a pretty big use. So I'm going to be getting the bombs rune here. This trick was found by a Japanese glitch hunter called Satogashi, and what it basically does is we use bullet time to align the 2 remote bombs that the game gives us, so that the first bomb explodes, catapulting the second bomb into Link, which makes Link fly through the air. The mechanic is relatively useful without the paraglider, but it becomes much more useful when you get the paraglider, because you can basically transfer that speed into Link's glider, instead of just shooting Link around, which is also causing him to deal damage. So I go for the quick version of this wind bomb in this run, and I end up getting it. We call this the gamer wind bomb, because it basically catapults us from here all the way to the end to the monk. And that angle is a little bit inconsistent, so most people don't opt for it, but this run wasn't amazing at this point because I hadn't gotten that unloaded magnesis door, so I went for it anyway. I did get it, and I ended up being 35 seconds ahead at the time. So this is the last spirit orb, which means after the shrine, the old man is going to show up and invite us to meet him at the top of the Temple of Time. And I knew at this point as well the run was pretty good. What you are looking to get to beat the game in under 30 minutes is finishing the Great Plateau in 16 minutes or lower. So I had a little bit of wiggle room here to do that still. And the parameter split is the first time we actually see the difference between the amiibo and the no amiibo route, because I'm immediately going to take advantage of the bomb rune I just got by doing more wind bombs. After the old man talks to us, of course. And these wind bombs are something we messed around with a while ago, but I couldn't use them when I was running no amiibo, but now I can, and you basically go up to this wall, do a pretty interesting setup to shoot Link a little bit to the right, but not too high, so you get away with not taking any damage, as you can see on the top left here, after the initial damage from the wind bomb itself. And then you run over the bridge, and we're going to be doing another wind bomb. So we don't need the mighty beetle here that you would need if you run this game without amiibo. And you stand on this corner, in between the two windows, and this wind bomb is really nice. You will not take any damage landing on the roof of the Temple of Time here, which is great, because we are basically wind bombing upwards. The game only checks our starting position and our ending position, and since we basically didn't fall, it doesn't punish us with any fall damage, which is great. And that's the Great Plateau, beaten here in 15.5 minutes. And this is basically where the real second half of the run begins. And I knew at this point, as you can probably see, looking at my expressions, this run was serious. There was definitely a good chance in beating the game in under 30 minutes. And unfortunately, right at this point, when the nerfs start beginning, the probably hardest trick in the game happens. This is the bullet time bounce all the way to Hyrule Castle. And there's a little bit of an extra special to this BTB when you run the game with amiibo. If you don't make any mistake from entering bombs up until this point, and I didn't, and I do get the BTB here too, and you can definitely see I was nervous even more at this point, you can get a bullet time bounce angle that can get you all the way to the entrance of the dining hall of Hyrule Castle, which is really fast, because you don't have to land down at the towers, which my previous run did, where you open the crate to potentially get a banana. So you can land all the way up there. You only have one try to do this. If you fail this bullet time bounce first try, you lose your skew, because the skew from the clipping into the bomb shrine is what allows this to work. When you lose that skew, so you make a mistake, you land your shield on the ground, you cannot reach the dining hall. So it's only one try. And landing on the bokoblin the first try and failing makes it so that your skew is gone, and that's it. You will not be able to reach dining hall. I make it barely here. You can see my stamina just reaching the dining hall, almost falling down. The castle here is completely unloaded. And we use basically this time, while the castle is loading in, to scan amiibo. And I scan the two Toon Link amiibo here, the Super Smash Bros. Edition, and the normal Toon Link amiibo. And this spawns in fish. And what I picked up there is a Mighty Porgy and a Mighty Carp. Technically, you only need the Mighty Porgy, but the Mighty Carp is another attack-up ingredient. I also pick up salt and the Mighty Banana that basically chills in the dining hall. And at this point, I only need one more ingredient to make a level 3 attack-up dish. Technically, I think already we could get a level 3 dish, but I want the duration of the dish to be as high as possible to beat Blights and Calamity Ganon. So while I pick up this sword, I actually ate some chilies, which I'm going to use for a mechanic that comes up a little bit later in the run. I want to be full life at this point. So I eat some chilies as I pick up the Royal Guard sword. Only at this point, the game has realized that we are actually in Hyrule Castle, so it plays the cutscene. I run up into this room, which baits out the Lizalfos and plays a square bomb between these two barrels, and the Lizalfos is now basically busy looking after this bomb. I shield jump down. I whistled as I was on the top of the railing there to distract the moblin, and will then one-shot him. The with a sneak strike. The moblin is essentially blind because he's distracted by the whistle that I did up there. And now I light this arrow and shoot this barrel, which will store the fire for us. Breaking these crates is going to make, as you can see on the left, the barrel fall onto the leaves on the ground. So while that does happen, I pick up any arrows I can from the crates that I just destroyed and now use the burning leaves and the basically created updraft to fly back up to where I came from. As you can see, the Lizalfos is busy kicking the bomb and I can sneak strike him too. I missed here once, but the second sneak strike lands, killing the Lizalfos in one shot, which is going to allow us to pick up the Lizalfos tri-boomerang. I wanted to basically pick up the bomb here and put it away again, so I didn't have to wait on the cooldown. But there were too many monster parts in my way, so I decided against that. Pick up the Razor Shroom here, which is our last attack up ingredient, and now place this bomb to distract these moblins. If you get here quick, you can actually not light your arrow on this campfire. The campfire doesn't load in, so you have to use that candle to light your arrow on fire, which allows you to then light up the cooking pot. And then you can cook your attack up potion, make your way to the Stone Smasher, which is another weapon we use for the boss fights. And at this point, you are almost set up to make your way to the boss fights. You still want to grab this Royal Bow, still a 38 damage bow. And then from here, we are going to be using the Wind Bomb mechanic again, but this time together with the glider. So we stand on this railing, set up Link's angle, and then Wind Bomb once, open the glider to glide to the wall. Do it again here, this time with a little bit more pressure. As you can see, Guardians are aiming at us, so can't really take our time here. And then Wind Bomb up to Hyrule Castle. And another thing I made a video about in the past is going to come up here. This is called Wind Blight Skip. We're going to be skipping the first Blight of the game. Now, the reason the Blights show up here is because we didn't beat the Divine Beasts. If you play the game casually, most likely you've done the Divine Beasts at this point and the Blights are dead. But since we haven't done that, the Blights are still here. And what I do here is I basically shoot an arrow into the arena with a very specific setup and then run into the cutscene. This arrow that I just shot is now stuck in the air, and you can see by Windblight's reaction he's going to start shaking quite heavily. This is caused because the arrow is stuck exactly where Windblight's headshot headbox is. And he basically constantly takes damage from that arrow, which causes him to get one shot. He dies, and you can immediately move on to the second Blight. Very fast strat. Water Blight almost pulled a quick one on me there and did his step attack a little early. Usually you want to use 2 boomerang throws there. But 1 boomerang throw, then a spin attack will still basically take care of him pretty quickly. And that's phase 1 of Water Blight. Phase 2 is probably my favorite phase. It uses some cool tricks to make it pretty quick. One thing that's important is that you can't really make many mistakes in this entire section because your attack up potion is running, your attack up meal is running, and you can't run out of duration. Also, if you do die here at any point, you will get sent back to the very beginning, which if you die in Calamity Ganon, that loses 6 minutes and your run is basically dead. But 6 quick hits here, and then a boomerang throw as Water Blight disappears. Does a lot of damage. You go for 2 more headshots and then for a quick jump attack, which finishes off the fight. In Fire Blight, we start off by doing a quick spin attack, which is going to hit him 3 times and then slam the weapon down, which causes him to stagger. If you repeat that process, he's going to fall to the ground. And then I switch to the Royal Guard Sword, which we picked up. Do 3 hits, and then a spin attack, which hits Fire Blight twice, and then a 3rd hit finishes the phase. Phase 2 is probably the most inconsistent phase of Blights, specifically in Fire Blight. You want to optimally defeat him in 1 cycle, which I barely ever get. I ended up not getting it in this run. But you start off the phase by dropping a bomb on the floor and wait for Fire Blight to suck in the bomb. And as soon as it's close to him, you blow it up, go for 3 hits with the boomerang, and then throw the boomerang against him. And then you basically equip your Royal Claymore and try to get as many hits as possible. You see, I'm basically 1 hit off of defeating Fire Blight here. Optimally, I would have gotten that, so I have to get 1 more, which is fast, but it could have been slightly faster. Now, Thunder Blight tends to be the #1 choice of hardest boss in the game for casual players. Is still pretty tricky in the speedrun. You start off the fight by immediately breaking his shield and then going for a spin attack where you face your back to Thunderblight, which makes you get more hits. Another quick spin attack to get more damage in, and a headshot will finish off the first phase. And in the second phase, Thunderblight is going to go up to the sky and throw down some metal pillars, which he's then going to electrocute. But this is basically the main reason for us to pick up the boomerang earlier when we struck that Resalfos. So he's basically preparing to throw down the metal pillars, and I wait a little bit here to throw my boomerang to break his shield, because those pillars can actually block the boomerang throw. 4 hits in advance will actually break Thunderblight's shield here as it's spawning, and then you have all the time you want to go for a big spin attack and finish off the rest of the fight. And at this point I was extremely nervous, because Calamity Ganon, like I said, if you die here, you lose your run. You lose like 6 minutes and no chance to beat the game in under 30 minutes if I was to die here. So I start off by throwing my weapon against Calamity Ganon, and I decided to not go for a flurry rush here because I knew I had quite a few arrows. So all I needed to do here is to get some good headshots, and I did get that. So basically you want to press the target button on Calamity Ganon and then get as many headshots as possible. When he goes for a laser, he's kind of static, so you can get headshots even easier. I also went to the left of the arena there to pick up the Royal Claymore, which I'm going to be using in the second phase of the fight. I'm careful here to save 4 bomb arrows, because when Calamity Ganon goes to the wall, 2 bomb arrow shots will get him from the wall. I missed 1 there, which was a little dangerous, because I only had 1 bomb arrow left, which I decided to use. So at this point, if he was to go to the wall again, I was in a little bit of trouble. So once again, he goes for the laser here. I dodge the laser and get even more headshots. And he does go to the wall, so I knew this is going to be a little bit risky, but 3 elemental arrow shots will also get him from the wall. So I got those pretty quickly too. And then went for even more headshots. Couldn't quite finish him off with the last shot there, because I didn't get a headshot, so I had to get 1 more flurry rush. And I got it, which did end phase 1. And at this point, phase 2 of the Ganon fight begins, which is very timing heavy. It starts off by Ganon either attacking you or shooting a laser. He attacked me here first and then went for the laser, which I had to get the parry, and I did. Now 3 hits against Ganon's head, which you then end by jumping to cancel the animation, into a spin attack with the Stone Smasher, will get Ganon into a stun lock. Here I go for consecutive spin attacks until the point where Ganon steps the ground with his blue spear, and then let go of the button. I then let my stamina recharge to 75% and repeat. So every time you see it here, the spear steps the ground, I let go of the button, slam down Link's weapon, and Ganon is basically stuck in the cycle until he dies. You have to get the right amount of hits, and if you see at the top left, the attacker potion is only at 30 seconds, so you can't make many mistakes. You can kill Ganon, and this is going to be the final spin here. My weapon breaks, finishing off the fight. And I knew at this point, as you can see in the top left, it was pretty safe that I would beat the game in under 30 minutes, because I was a full minute ahead of my 30-minute and 33-second PB, and only Dark Beast was left. Dark Beast is a pretty auto-scrolly section, but I was still so nervous that I didn't really celebrate at this point, because you can die here. I was at full HP, so I felt a little bit safe, but definitely a pretty intense run. When you do run any percent and you ever get to Calamity Ganon, you know how intense that stun lock phase is, where you can't press the attack button at the wrong time or you lose your entire run. So Dark Beast, you basically wait for Zelda to use her first 2 voice lines and then ride to the left side of the boss fight. And then prepare to start your shots. You want to miss as little as possible. I think I actually ended up missing a little bit here, just because I was still nervous. But I did have some wiggle room, yeah. The shot here is a bit weird. You kind of want to shot lower than the actual target to get it. So 2 misses there. You wait on the right side of Dark Beast until he turns to the left. There's no real tricks here. This is basically just optimization to make the fight quicker. No real speedrunning tricks or anything. Unfortunately, there's no skip to this fight yet, because the game ending literally plays when you do the final shot of this boss, which is also the official timing ending for the run. So the timer stops as soon as the last light arrow makes contact with Dark Beast's eye. But yeah, also a good time to basically talk about my Twitch stream again, where all of this happened. Twitch.tv/limcube, where I am now running a new speedrun category called All Main Quests Extended, which is basically a speedrun to beat all main quests of the game, plus the DLC, and specifically the Champion's Ballad, as fast as possible. It's a super cool run that basically shows the entire game and uses crazy tricks that this run doesn't. Lots of wind bombs as well. So if you want to see that live, you could check out the Twitch link. But yeah, this run took me months and months to get. The first time I ever saw an 80% run, it was actually the first sub 30 that ever happened. So this was a huge personal goal for me. And I end up finishing even lower here with a 29.35. Maybe in the future I come back to 20% when there's more new strats, but for now I'm super happy with this. I hope you guys learned something from this video. I hope you guys might be interested in getting into 20% Breath of the Wild speedrunning yourself. I still have a pretty up-to-date tutorial for this game, but in the bottom left you can see I'm planning on updating that, but GG, the run ends here with a 29.35. And as you can see, I'm happy about that because it was quite the grind to get this run. But it was worth it. It was definitely a goal ahead for a long time, and it felt good to reach it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Once again, I hope you learned something, maybe get interested in Breath of the Wild speedrunning, and see you guys in the next video.